Hi, pretty angel.
Hi.
Did I scare you?
I didn't know we were starting.
Oh.
Like so soon. I was like, okay, here we go. Hi.
I love your earrings.
Thanks.
Gorgeous.
I got them at the Goddess Market. I've been eyeing them for like 2 years, seriously.
They're gorgeous.
And I was like, I went to a jewelry class she did. She's like a local person. And I've seen these several times. And so
I was so
like,
glad you got them.
If she's there again, I'm getting them.
Good purchase.
Mm-hmm,
I'm so glad to see you're doing happy. What? I'm so glad to see you're doing well.
Yes.
You were very sick.
Yes, I missed the last one, last recording. So
yeah.
I want you to tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah. I want to say that I missed you so much.
Oh.
Yeah, I really did. It was a great conversation. Josh is...
I could hear y'all laughing.
Oh.
I was in my bed in my room and could hear y'all laughing. I was like, oh, they're having fun.
Oh, we missed you.
I know.
He's so smart and just has like a great a way of looking at things that just is really... I really was like, oh, wow. Every time he like gave a perspective, I was like, And here's the thing. It was very Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for me, missing you, because he would go on like a funny kind of tangent, not a tangent, because it was, it was all good. But there was a part of me that was like, how do I need to reel this back in. But then that Mr. Hyde part of me was like, no, just keep laughing and making bits. So I really miss you because I'm like,
I'm normally the reining it in.
Yeah.
Person.
Be like, hello, question. So it was a great conversation, but don't ever be sick again, okay?
I'll try my best. Trust me. I'd rather be doing this.
Okay. You guys are going to love this episode with Josh Johnson. Enjoy it, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Yeah, there's so many things I don't want to forget to ask you.
Ask me?
Yeah, you're the guest.
Oh, okay. I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't know if I didn't know I was moving like that.
Ask me.
Ask me.
I'm gonna have to talk.
What?
Yeah, man.
Okay. If you say so, if that's what you want to do,
I do want to. Are you okay with that?
No, I'm very okay with that.
Okay.
I didn't. Yeah, I don't really think of myself as a guest
What?
on anything. I think I'm just around. Do you know what I mean? Like I was just there while they were recording their thing.
You know what's weird is so many people do the podcast and then they're like, I feel like I talked a lot. I'm like, that's the point.
Yeah, but I get what they're saying. Like at a certain point, some depending on what type of guest you are, depends on if you showed up and felt like you kicked open a door and yelled and left. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, you're supposed to talk as the guest, and sure, like there might be lots of questions or whatever, but I think that if you don't feel like you contributed as much as just shoved stuff out there, that's the difference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
yeah.
I hope you feel like you contributed.
We'll see after.
Okay.
We won't know for what, an hour? It'll be quite a while before we find out.
I want to say I am so grateful that you're here.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, dude.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Okay.
I just watched Up Here Killing Myself.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I think you're like one of 3. No. I know people have been watching it, and I'm very grateful to them. But sometimes I don't know how to react when people tell me that they watched it. I like almost as like a defense mechanism. I got to throw a joke out there.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, it's part of it.
You smiled a little bit. Is that because you knew you were doing a defense mechanism?
No, I smiled because I was excited somebody watched it.
Oh,
because this is my thing. In earnest, I think a lot of the people that have come to follow me in the past year, especially this year, maybe still don't even know about the special because they followed me through YouTube and because of YouTube, and they check in every week on my YouTube, and then anyone who is like dug deep enough to find out about it, then watch it, I very much appreciate. So that's mainly what it is like a level of surprise, because anything that you put out there, yes, you're putting it out there to be seen, but then there's a different thing for when people have seen it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
1,000%.
So, yeah.
So the special is unique. It's so great. You're so great at what you do. And it's different than, I mean, it fits so perfectly with this podcast because it's like you intersperse therapy in the in the special. How did that come about? Like, what was the process of you being like, okay, I want to do therapy in between my special?
Well, it's mainly I worked on it with the director Jacob Menacci, and we were talking about basically how a lot of the jokes got written. So it's kind of a mirroring of that process. It's kind of a mirroring of like these are things I talked about in therapy, and that's why the joke will start in therapy and then it ends on stage because that's where the sort of like that's how it ended, is like figuring out how I felt about it and then writing it into a joke. So that's why we go through that process a couple times throughout it.
It's amazing. Were you using therapy as like a open mic?
No, it doesn't really work because then like most therapists don't have enough of a sense of humor to know either when you're joking or that that some of your joking is because you're like over the thing. Sometimes you joke in a way to like not have to address it, but sometimes you are genuinely joking because you're like, oh, it's kind of funny now. I don't care anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like there are some people who can joke about a breakup like after it happens in a way where you can tell they've actually like moved on and there's an aspect of it that's funny or something. And then there's people who like do the same thing and it might be just as funny, but you can tell there's something like still wrong or like
they're upset.
Or even the way they do the joke is like funny, but you're like, uh-oh.
Oh no.
There's something behind that. I don't love that. Also, real quick, what camera should I be looking at, or are neither of them on? Or wait, this one's on. Okay, because I just saw a cap. I saw a cap on that one. So then I was like, all right, but they both got caps on. I have bad news. It's just this
is
one.
a social experiment. This has nothing to do with the podcast.
That's good to know. Okay. So when I stare into it the entire time, no one will be freaked out but the editor.
No, it's this one.
Okay, cool. And would you like it for me to face the camera or to face you? Should I answer your questions facing the camera?
We're spiraling.
Yeah, should I? Let me tell you something else about my special. You know what I mean? Like, or would you rather me look at you?
What would you rather do?
I mean, because the seat, this was throwing me off, is that the seat is facing straight ahead. So I'm going to have to move this chair no matter what I do because this camera is
those
like...
chairs are bolted down.
Is just off to the side a little bit. So I'd either have to do this and really give you the shoulder or I will have to turn the chair a little bit and like look at you. But what do you like?
Can I be real with you? I love that we're having this conversation because I was like, he won't look at me.
Oh, really? From the top, you were like, why isn't he looking at me?
Yes.
But then, okay.
No, you don't have to look at me.
I'm not saying, but I wasn't trying to not look at you. I thought this was my one. I thought this was my camera right here. And so then
he's like, I'm just being professional.
But then my eyes aren't the best. And so I couldn't see that there was a cap on it right away. So it wasn't until you asked me a second question, I was like, wait, there's a cap on that camera. And then I saw this one. I was like, this might not be on. And so then I looked right into it. You can actually, when you play this back, you might be able to see me go like for a second. And then I realized like, oh, okay, there's probably only one on.
Right.
And do you care about a side profile for the both of us?
No.
Okay.
And you can look at the camera sometimes. I do too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And you can move this mic if that feels comfortable.
I'm rarely comfortable. So let's
Amazing.
I want to do whatever makes other people feel comfortable because when it's all on me to feel comfortable, we're going to be here for quite a while. You know, I think that it's best for me to just sort of go where you put me. And then I'll go off. Yeah.
You know, I know you're kind of kidding, but you're not.
I'm barely kidding.
Barely kidding. Yeah.
In situations like this, when it's like I'm both in another person's space and on another person's show, I just want to make sure that they enjoy the experience, because you're like invited. Do you know what I mean? And if you're in a situation where you've like never, there's a way to show up where you're just like an accidental menace. And do you know what I mean? But I'm sure, I'm not even asking you to name names, but I'm sure that in the history of this show, you've had somebody on where you were like, that was terrible. You maybe didn't even wait till they left. You like thought it on this camera in your head. And if you look hard enough, you could probably,
no cap camera.
Yeah, you could probably cut to it and just like, you know what I mean? That's my favorite, when somebody's like can't even control their face, so they're like. So I'm just saying, as a guest, to show up and be, you know.
I want you to just be who you are. I want.
We'll see.
I know in your special.
No, we will. I'm sure it'll be fine.
You mentioned that a little bit, where you were like, I'm a weird guy. Like people meet me. And I feel like, do you get social anxiety? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I have social anxiety, but I feel like I have social anxiety the way that some people have like a mole, where it's like after a while you're like, yeah, it's just there. Like it's just, you know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to get it removed or anything, and like they wouldn't do it if I asked. Okay. That's a real thing. Like sometimes you go to get a mole removed and like, oh, we don't want to touch that. It's like, why? It's on the surface. Like, is it connected to something I don't know about? Like, it's on my face. Right. I want to get it removed. And they're like, oh yeah, we don't do that here. It's like, you're the doctor though. You're like the skin doctor. And they're like, yeah, but it's too invasive. It's like, what's invasive about it? I could do it with a knife. Like they're
like, do it.
Just do it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I feel about social anxiety, because I think that for some people with a crippling amount of it, I do get it, because there's like an aspect of like when let's say you're afraid of heights and every day you have to walk at altitude, like that would, and on a bridge, and like one of the wooden ones with those gap teeth in it, like if you just had to do that all the time, eventually you would be like, all right, maybe I can get through this, because it's literally part of how I have to function to do my job and to live. But then there's also a part of you that's like, this is like untenable. Like 15 steps into the gap, it only takes your foot missing a step once for you to be like, that was almost my whole life. And I think that with social anxiety, it's similar, where it's like most conversations, most interactions don't have to be much at all. They don't have to be anything. Like even the conversations I have sometimes with like the cashier somewhere, it's like I actually treasure when those are anything more than just a hi, bye, whatever, because like every once in a while when somebody like really lets you in, it's phenomenal. It's the only thing that to me sort of skirts the right word. It's the only thing that like skirts my anxiety is when someone is like lifting the veil, because then you're having such a genuine experience that you're then like taken out of whatever you could be worried about. So the same way, like we're making that same example of having to walk at like a high altitude on a rickety bridge. If you had to do that and you're very nervous about falling and you're terrified and this is your worst fear and it's a terrible day, and then you just see like a streaker on the other side of it is distracting enough that you're like, that's also happening. Yeah. And so, you know, every once in a while I will talk to someone where I'll be like, wow, you just told me everything. Like but in a way that was nice. Like in the pandemic, I remember I went to a CVS, and the guy, I couldn't tell if it was his last day or not. But like,
oh, I thought you meant like on Earth.
no, just at CVS. But this dude was really like telling me everything, because I walked up and I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he's like, there's a line of 20 of y'all. How do you think I'm doing? And he didn't say it in a way that was like, don't talk to me, because he kept talking. He was more like, there's a line of 20 of y'all. How do you think I'm doing? You know, they let me be the only one in the store, but they won't make me manager. So, I mean, that's how I'm doing, you know, like probably be having a better night if you hit me over the head with this can of soup. And like, as he was scanning my can of soup, and I was just like, man, this guy's my hero. Like, this guy, like, man, this guy's like a real, you know what I mean? Just like a real one. Like, he didn't put up any fake anything. He was just like, nah, I'm not having a good life today. And I don't know what to do with that situation. Like, I didn't offer him any. I was like, oh, damn, man. Well, I'll catch you soon. I didn't help him in any way. I don't even think I offered like any sort of encouraging word. Like, I don't even know if I said, I hope it gets better. Maybe I thought that, but I probably thought that on the sidewalk. Like, I don't think I said anything to him that would have made his day better. I just sort of was a witness for him being like, I'd be doing better if you hit me over the head with this can. It's just such an unhinged thing to say to a customer that it stuck with me even to this day. Imagine if you genuinely went to a drugstore and the cashier was like, murder me. In your face with people behind, like other people heard that. And so sometimes social anxiety gets like sidestepped for like a real moment. You know what I mean? Yeah. I
really am interested in this process of like creating like the special, because it's like, for example, that one joke that you tell about the guy on the bus and / your dad passing away. Can you talk about like, I don't know, like bringing that up in therapy, and then the moment you were like, I'm going to say this on stage, what it felt like to know that you were ready to talk about it on stage?
Yeah, I don't know if I knew I was ready. It was more just that they both happened, and then I talked about them both in a situation where I was like, I didn't even have a through line at the time. I was just talking about them in general, because the bus thing is just like every once in a while you get a real sense of where you are in your career, and that's where I was. Do you know what I mean? That's like,
and to clarify for people that may have not heard the joke, the bus thing is if you want to tell them, but a man.
No, it would be so much funnier if you told them, because then I'll just look at the camera while you tell them. That'd be really funny. You know it would be. That'd be really good to be like, you just described what the bus thing was. I'll do the dad thing so you don't have to do the dad thing. But
I don't want to do the dad thing.
Do the bus thing, and then I'll just look at the camera while you do it. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you go ahead. Start whenever you're ready.
You were on a bus for 2 days. For 2 days. And I can't remember why, but you were on a bus for 2 days, and this man was really like asleep beside you, like kind of fucked up a little bit. And then he shat his pants. I feel so bad. He shat his pants.
Yeah.
And then he went into the bathroom, and you guys heard him be like, no. So that's basically the outline.
That's exactly. You actually did a perfect job. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. I wonder what that's going to look like for the listener now, because you described it perfectly for the listener who's just listening, but for anyone watching, I wonder, maybe zoom in on my face while you're telling the story, and then because it's probably the face I made when it happened.
Right.
And then that in the special is juxtaposed against when I got the call that my dad was really sick, and I was working at the Tonight Show at the time, and then they gave me the call. The call was from his doctor. I had talked to my dad the night before, and he sounded really bad. And then, I went into my boss's office. I told him, like, I'm sure I put it so bluntly. Like I was literally like, "Hey man, I don't know how to tell you this, but like my dad is dying." And he's like, "Oh my gosh." And he hopped up out of his chair and he gave me a hug and he's like, do you need us to do anything? And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know what to do." And he's like, "Let us help you set up a flight home. And just take some time." So then went ahead and went back, and yeah, it's kind of like that thing at the time. The way that they are related is that I was at a party after my dad died, and then I was like getting ready to cry, and did not want to cry at a party because I was also already sober at a party. So I'm already not the fun one. Do you know what I mean? To be at a party sober, if I cry,
you gotta go. You gotta go.
Like a drunk girl crying is more permissible,
right,
than like a stone cold sober person crying at your party. Because a sober person crying at a party, you know that they have the faculties to leave. Mm-hmm. You know that they don't even have to be here. And like a drunk person crying at your party, it's like, this idiot doesn't forgot that they have legs. They think they have to cry on this couch. Oh my gosh. And so then, it was that similar thing of like, I was starting to cry and then I started to fight it. And then I ran to the bathroom and I pretty much made the same sort of noises that the guy that ran to the bathroom made when I was on the bus, which was the no, because I was trying to hold back, that feeling and something that was definitely coming whether I wanted to or not. That was natural, Did
you cry in the bathroom?
Easily.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about crying at parties, I don't do it often because I don't go to a lot of parties.
If I was, I'd be crying.
I think there's something about having a good cry that's now everybody's problem. That's it's a real win. Yeah, I mean,
yes.
What a W when you can cry and make 12 people uncomfortable at the same time. Because they don't know, like most of them don't know you well enough to help you if you're crying. You know what I mean? Like, especially the thing, I was talking to another friend, and I was talking about how there are these sort of like prisons that we live in, and they're of a similar nature, because it's like when people say like, no, it's important to normalize men crying. Like you just because you're a man doesn't mean you can't cry. And it's like, look, yes, everything that you're saying is true, but you're not ready. You're not actually ready for what that looks like, because and I've talked about this even on stage, even when I know of a woman's like, I want my man to be able to like cry to me, right? It's like, you're ready for him to cry about the stuff you would cry about. You're not ready for this dude to cry to you about the Rams. Because people cry about the stuff that's important to them.
Yeah.
So then it's like, there's going to be a thing he wants to cry about to you that will seem dumb. But that's not, but you're talking about, oh, I want him to cry to me if his dad dies. It's like, yeah, he might. And that would be a universally understandable time to cry. But the type of catharsis and crying that you're talking about is coming from a place of like, I've had friends cry to me about some of the dumbest stuff, or cry at the end of a movie that's not even sad. And it's like, but that's the sort of freedom that we can put this whole thing in parentheses, but that's the sort of freedom that women have around crying, is that there's a real ownership to it. And it's kind of like indirect competition, or standing directly against the sort of whole ownership that men have over anger. Because even when a man is unreasonably angry or getting angry very quickly or whatever, he's still not seen as like the same irrational as women are seen when they get angry. So it's like men have getting angry, women have getting emotional in terms of crying, and we don't really like let those switch over. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's a good point.
And so I think that the same way that like it's not a one-to-one, but the same way that a guy might be like, I just want my girl like let it out, because then when she doesn't let it out, she blows up on this random day after she's had like, you know, she's just like hit her limit and everything.
Right.
It's like let it. It's like, yeah, but you're not really ready for her to like like. I know you say this thing, but like saying it and meaning it are two very different things. And so that's kind of how I feel about a lot of the emotional dumping that we're allowed to do, and the sort of exercising of emotions that people feel within their box allowed to do makes a lot of like reasonable sense. Because even when we say we want to be better or we want people to do something else, it's like, yeah, I don't know if you're ready to live in that world.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when
know what
like,
that really looks like.
Yeah, because like one of the most maybe one of the most poignant and relatable times I've seen a man cry was in 2018. There was a very big, one of the biggest of all time boxing matches. It was Mayweather versus McGregor, and Mayweather beat McGregor, I think, in the 9th round. And there's a video clip that I don't even think it went viral. That's how sad this is. Where this guy, right when McGregor gets knocked out, because he got TKO, not like fully knocked out, but right when he gets knocked out, there's a video of this guy going, "No, I put my rent money on McGregor." And like, and it is just funny. It's pretty incredible, and it's the most relatable thing to cry about.
He's crying.
Well, yeah, and he's not like crying like sobbing, but he's doing the scream that you know has tears in it. And it's like, yeah, that's that. I don't think that dude's girlfriend is ready for that. Yeah, you know what I mean,
that's a really interesting point. Have you like knowing that? Have you been able to let yourself cry in like, I don't know, knowing that, have you been like, oh fuck it, I'm gonna cry. Y'all want to see a man cry, I'm gonna cry when I want.
Yes, but I don't do it in the way of like, I do it in the way of like accepting that people are gonna look at me different. Like I don't do it, you know what I mean? There's a difference in anything that you say that you want, you might be able to get, but you have to live in the world the way that it is, not the way that you would like for it to be. And so you may get all these things, you may start acting this way, or you may do whatever it is that you want to be doing, but just know that like that doesn't necessarily change the world around you today. It may do something for somebody later, that which is nice, but like for you today, doesn't really do anything. So like if I'm gonna be the dude that cries whenever he feels like crying, I also need to accept what that's gonna look like to people because I live now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So to answer your question, I feel like I cry an appropriate amount, but it's still rare. But I think that's because I actually feel like that. Like it's been a long time since I cried.
Yeah.
But at the same time, crying doesn't make me feel good afterwards.
Really?
Yeah, there's a whole, I'd have to look it up to not sound dumb right now, but to my understanding, to my limited understanding, and I'm sure there are people in the comments that can correct me.
Love it.
There is because of our brain's biology, and just because of how our hormones are made up, there is more catharsis that women experience after a cry than men. So men experience catharsis in just some more of those caveman like ways. It's why a suburban dude does a tough mutter. It's like, my life isn't hard enough. I don't have anything to do with all this extra energy. And rather than like cry about it, which just would not feel as good. It can feel good to like after a good cry that's been building up, especially if it's about something, it can feel very good. But if it's about the build up towards just general emotion, it doesn't feel as good. So like, let's say if my dad died and I waited to cry about it for like a year and I finally cried about it, that would feel good. But to cry because I'm overwhelmed does not feel good to me.
After the fact.
After the fact, no, it does not feel good. And not even in a social way of like, I've been conditioned to feel weak after I cry. I mean, genuinely, like after I cry, I'm not like, oh, thank goodness I got it all out. I'm more just like, that's a lot of snot to clean up. And I still have these problems. It's just not the same thing. And so, yeah, like there was a friend of mine also who was explaining to me how, and this is for each individual now, not just like male and female, your sort of hormonal makeup makes up a lot of your responses to things. And so, yeah, there are some people that crying really releases a lot of
because something's going on in the body when you cry, even if you're a man, something's releasing. But it's
but if that release feels good is the difference.
Yeah, I guess as a woman I wouldn't say that it's like, oh, all my problems are healed, but like body wise I'm like, oh, something,
it shook something loose maybe.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying women think they've healed themselves after a cry. I'm saying that they're more like and now I can go work on it. Now I've reset enough to go fix something. Whereas a guy is like, I need a gun. Like that's more. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't reset us in the same way. And a little bit of what I'm saying is science.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
Like I don't. Once again, I'm sure I should have brought the study and put it in front of me and named the doctor.
Even then,
because then I understand how anytime you bring this stuff up, it sounds like you're trying to like push a narrative, and I'm really not. I'm just saying that like both anecdotally and from what I've actually read from other people who did something different with their life that studied people.
Okay.
This is a bit of a difference between us, and I've experienced that with myself. Is that I have no shame around crying, but crying does not release for me the way that it does for a lot of my friends.
Got you.
Yeah.
What initially got you into therapy?
Oh, just necessity.
Yeah.
I mean, I luckily have a mom who believes in like talking things out and stuff like that. So when I was really little, my mom sent me to therapist, or I don't know if she would prefer to be called child psychologist. Either way, I was talking to somebody for an hour and insurance was being called. And then as I got older, I started to revisit it like in college, and started to revisit it when I moved to Chicago, and started to revisit it when I, was in New York. And so it's like something that to me, I'm alone in this thing maybe, but to me, therapy is a lot like going to the actual doctor. I know that there are some cultures who handle the thing differently, where there are some cultures who you actually go to the doctor all the time, but you only pay when you get sick. And that to me functionally feels like it makes more sense. Because then a doctor is seeing you all the time to be like, something's getting a little off course here, right? And you don't show up to the doctor all busted up. And then there's also something for the way that we do it here in the States that makes the most sense to me, where it's like, if I'm really not sick, and if I'm genuinely, if there's not a problem, there's not a problem. And I think that there's a little bit to be said for like the sort of self-diagnosis, overdiagnosis, overprescribing, and at a certain point, a person is like, whatever okay is, especially for that person, baseline, that's where they are. And I think if that's where they are, and there's really nothing going on, and they don't want to go to therapy this week, I don't think that's the worst thing. And I also think that going as soon as you feel something being off is better than in my personal journey with it. I would say going when I feel myself getting off course makes more sense to me than going all the time, normalizing a part of it that does feel just habitual. So then I don't even take to heart what's being said. Cause then I feel like I'm in real trouble. Like if you just, it's like when you go, it's like I was a kid, I was allergic to a lot of stuff. It's like when you go to get allergy shots all the time and then you still get sick, you're like, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
Whereas if I had just gone and got my, flu shot and then sort of weathered the rest of it, like on my own a little bit, who knows? Maybe that could have been better, because there's just such a devastating hit that you take when you're like, I already got to do this flu shot thing like all the time. I mean, I already got to do this allergy shot thing all the time. And now I feel like my allergies are acting up.
Right.
And that's going to happen because you're still a person. Like you're still like a human. So going to therapy all the time, whether you just have it scheduled every Tuesday until the end of time, or just when you feel like you need it, it's like, it starts to become 6 of one and half a dozen sort of thing.
No, that's so true. You mentioned that in your special too, that I wrote it down because I loved it, but you said something like being fine is like, being okay with fine, like things are sometimes just fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's very easy to forget that life is not actually supposed to be good
all the time.
No, like at all. Like at all. If you've ever like read a history book, if you go back to any of the ones, like in history when there's a 1 in the number, ooh. That was not the best time. Now's the best time it's ever been. Like actually now. And now, I mean now as in now, like forget what I said 2 seconds ago now. Right? And so you go back you go back any time, and honestly, no matter who you are, and you look at people's lives, they were, in some ways different and in a lot of ways worse than they would be now. And I think that is, it's such a truth for everyone that has lived later than anyone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just imagine you died the year before toilet paper, a whole life without toilet paper. Do you know what I mean? And it's like everything gets better over time. We have learned sort of, we're always working on it, but we've learned a better way of treating each other in polite society. Baseline better than 50 years ago. Baseline better than 50 years before that.
Right.
People have more rights than they've ever had, no matter who you are. There's a lot happening, and we still have plenty of our own problems. There are plenty of global issues. Like it's not as if we live in a utopia right now. But I'm just saying that like a supermarket isn't supposed to exist. Like a supermarket full of food that is not from here.
Yeah.
That shouldn't even be growing this season.
Right.
Like we forget food has seasons.
Yeah.
Like when I used to work at a grocery store, people would be like, why don't you have this thing? And I'd be like, oh, it's out of season. And one time a real adult, like a person older than me, was like,
you're lying.
Why don't you have any, I think, I don't know if it was strawberries. It was something, it was like some fruit that they wanted. And they're like, why don't you have any? I'm like, oh, it's out of season. And they're like, why? And then I'm like, I don't know how.
This isn't my place.
Because then this is one of those things where it's like I either explain seasons and get reported to my manager, or I walk away and get reported to my manager.
Right.
Or I also act outraged and just
you're like, hit me with this
kind
can,
of pretend to be dumb. Yeah. And so very much hit me with this can of peaches. And and so life is not.
Well, see, everything you described, you started with life is not supposed to be good.
Yeah.
But everything you described was good.
But I'm saying we have that. Like I'm saying like the expectation to be happy and for life to be great. I think that those are two wildly unrealistic things. I think that every day that you wake up not sick, and every day that the people that you love that love you are alive, and every day that you can move in a functional world that is easier than we would like to accept that it is. Like everyone's life feels hard to them, but like functionally, like if you have 3 screens, like if you have a phone, a laptop, and a TV, you're in like the top 5% of the world.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
facts.
So like life is not baseline supposed to be good. You know what I mean? It's great that it is, and it isn't for a lot of people. And I'm very blessed that so many things in my life have gone right in spite of things that have gone wrong. And like I do my best to not sleep on any of those blessings, but they didn't have to happen. And even the things I take for granted, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't take this for granted because this is also crazy. Because if nothing else, as commonplace as everything that I'm describing that is good is happening right now, I could have been born 50 years earlier. And what would life be like then?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that it's a very weird place that we've gotten to where I think some people need and use therapy exactly as it's supposed to, exactly as it was intended to sort of mend these sort of unseen wounds. And then I think that people are in search of a thing that does not exist, which is like consistent, sustained morphine drip happiness, which is just like, that's not only, in my opinion, I'm not a therapist and you know, I'm not like a psychologist, but not only is that not what any of this stuff is for, but also it's like, would you really want to be like, I've met people who are happy all the time, and it's one of the freakiest things I've ever seen in my life. It's honestly like every time I meet someone who's happy all the time, I've only met like 2 in my life, but anytime it happens, you're like I've said on stage before, I'm like, you kill. Like I can tell something's wrong.
Yes.
This is a facade.
Right.
No one is this happy all the time.
I'm sure they're not.
I don't like this at all.
Yeah, it's
Do you know what I
unsettling.
mean? Yeah, just give me something. I'm not even asking them to do, remember that Mean Girls thing from the scene in Mean Girls where they're all like trashing their bodies and they look over at Katie for her to say something?
Right.
I'm not talking about doing that. I'm not saying like, let's have a pity party where we all hate our life. I'm just saying that like, if I know you for a couple years and you never have an off day, that's someone on the run. That's not
I have no personality.
Yeah.
You'll never find me.
Nothing ever goes wrong in this state-sanctioned condo.
No, that's so real though, because this is a new thing that I've learned from my therapist. She maybe told me like a few months back, but she was like, you know, none of this is ever gonna just be done, right? This is gonna be forever. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That was news to me, you know?
Yeah. I remember one time I read, I don't even remember who it was, but they were like, you'll die with things in your inbox. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, might as well go take a walk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like you're never going to finish. And when you finish, you are dead. That's the end. That's what it's like to be done. When you're like, oh man, I just want to be done with everything. That's dead.
That's dead. Yeah, dude.
So then you
yeah.
either enjoy what you have or you try to make a sidestep, shift into something else.
Have you always like felt this way, or did something happen in your life or therapy get you to this perspective?
Oh. I don't know. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, I feel like you know what it is too. This is probably what happened.
Your smile cracks me up.
No, this is what happened. This is what happened. I'll tell you right now. This is my bad. Look, this is what happened. I think I had some lofty feelings and thoughts about therapy, and then my insurance got charged. And then I was like, you know what? Sometimes it's important for the mind to heal itself. Sometimes you have to take yourself. Yeah, sometimes you have to dig deep and you have to do the hard work alone in a room that is free.
You're emailing this to your therapist?
Yeah. Breaking up with a therapist is hard. Breaking up with a therapist is like, because then there's a part of you that's like, nah, okay, so and it's one of those things because then all the problems that you have in therapy do come out. So then you're like, oh, if I have a fear of confrontation, if I have a fear of hurting people's feelings, it's like that's gonna come out when I try to fire my therapist. So then there's
and they know.
Then and then they know. So then when I'm tiptoeing around, like, yeah, because it's just like you going through a divorce right now. So like I don't know if advice.
It's really
you know what I mean, on my life coming from, you know what I mean, it doesn't really hit, and then you start charging more, and I can tell that's because
you're going through a divorce.
Yeah, she taking a cut.
Are you making this up, or does this really happen?
No, this didn't happen to me.
Oh, okay.
This didn't happen to me, but I did. I don't tell this often because I don't want people to be wary of therapy.
Right.
But so one of my friends does low key. He's not with that therapist anymore, but he does low key feel like his therapist used everything he told me in therapy against him to keep him coming.
No,
because yeah.
Ugh.
It's pretty foul. But it was
how long did he see him?
Like a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Well, you shrugged that, but that's a long
but
time.
But I think he wanted to quit after 8 months, so he did double. He did like double it up.
Wow, that's impressive.
Pretty good. Yeah,
that is really impressive.
Because he was just giving this dude background to use in the conversation when he's like, "Oh, I don't know if it's working out." It's like, or is that your fear of even committing to this? It's like, boom. Now we got him locked in. Yeah, yeah.
Are you in therapy now?
Not right now.
Okay.
No. I feel like I'm taking a break until I have something to tackle. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think that's very healthy.
Like eventually I'll be like, man, I just get like I think maybe whenever some sort of midlife crisis hits, I'll be like, I don't know. I was at the gym and I just saw a wall and just wanted to punch it really bad. It's like,
I need to talk to someone.
Maybe I'll talk to somebody. Yeah. Right.
Working.
Yeah.
I love your outlook on things. I'm very interested in like working in the news, like on the Daily Show, talking about that kind of stuff. Does that bum you out?
I mean, I'm rarely happy.
You don't mean that.
I'm pretty even. You know what I mean? Like the things that make me happy are like my dog, my girlfriend, doing shows and stuff like that. And those things I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by. But as far as being a happy person, someone whose resting state is joy is not how I see myself. Like when I'm hanging out with my girlfriend, I'm super happy. And when I'm hanging out with my dog, I'm super happy. And when I'm doing shows, I'm super happy. But those are obviously all outside influence things. So it's like I think I have access to happiness through my appreciation of the things that I enjoy, which are like family and comedy. But as far as like sitting alone, like reading comic books, I'm happy, but I'm not like joyful. I'm just like, this is what I want to be doing, and I'm doing it right now, and that's pretty dope.
What's the difference between that and like when you're with your dog or your girlfriend?
I think that there's a little bit more of like, man, this is great, as opposed to like, this is exactly what I want to be doing right now. That's
like
pretty
I'm
dope.
content.
Yeah. Like the thing I don't say that I'm rarely happy to make it sound as if I'm an unhappy person. I think that we have a bad understanding of what it means to be happy and how much of our time should be spent being happy, and we measure it. We measure our life almost by how many like happy days we could rack up in a row. Whereas I think that like the way that I could be wrong about my wording here, but it's like the way that the Taoists look at it is that it's like the sort of resting state that is not affected by things is that are on the outside is actually one of the best states to be in. So not necessarily overly joyful or depressed, or it's like literally just like sort of centered. I find myself being a bit more centered than anything else, centered than happy when left alone. And I think that's fine. I don't even think that's something to aspire to. It's like I look at people who are super happy all the time, and I'm like, maybe, but not every single day.
Right.
There's a fine line. I think that like people who are happy every single day freak me out. People that are happy most of the time seem pretty dope, and then people that are more the way that I am, which is like this is good.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that's a great way to live, and I'm thankful that I even get that, because I could be sad all the time, or I could be depressed, or I could have some sort of neurological thing happening that I can't control. Like I'm lucky that to a certain degree I get to control my mood, if that makes sense.
It does.
You know what I mean?
It definitely does.
So I don't sort of seek to be like I'm happy enough, and enough things make me happy for like a moment, that I'm not trying to be like happy all day.
Yeah, I get what you're
mean?
saying. And to me, like you're content, you're describing the two sounds like joy. Like when you're just like,
You know
can't
what
really
it
be
is?
affected by, you're just like, I'm just living. Like that sounds like joy.
You know what it is? I think that joy is when you're punchably happy.
Mm.
You know, like that person that's like real happy and you kind of want to trip them? That's that to me is like what joy is. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm alone here, but every once in a while there's somebody that's like so like and then you're like, man, it'd be so funny if they fell because they're skipping. It's like, who skips? What an idiot. And then you kind of want them to fall. If they fall, then I become them. Like if they fall, I'm like,
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find a little like I know you're joking, but do you find a little, because here's the thing with like, I don't know, there's a little what's the word? And this is why I asked about like writing on the Daily Show or hearing about news all the time. There's a little bit of like, you get into that attitude of like, oh, a lot of things are shit. It's kind of dumb to be that happy.
No.
Okay.
No.
There's no joy in being like pessimistic.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I also don't think it's dumb to be that happy. I think it's just funny when very happy people trip. It's like just brings them right back down to earth. The thing, as far as the news goes, is that like everything that you read in the news, no matter how sad or horrific it is a thing that has happened before. We've lived long enough that we are fully cyclical in every like tragedy and atrocity. So
Yes.
I don't think that there's anything, not to say that I'm not moved by these things, but they're not so they're not so different, because the human condition to create them is the same. So then I look at anyone who can be happy, or anyone that looks at these things and is sad, as like just two different responses to some people. That's why they ignore the news, is that they know that their sort of empathetic response to it would be to go to a very dark place, because these are horrific things that we're seeing. And then some people feel like they can't not look, and so then they have that response. And then some people see what's happening, but then they're like, in order for the world, the one way that I know to make the world a better place, besides donating, besides giving my attention, besides spreading awareness, is to make myself a like a separate entity from these horrible things, and make myself a happy person, try to spread happiness that way. So I think that all those things are different responses, and I think the news is something that, whether it touches home or it's like afar, I think that it's like a sad part of the human experience. But also some things, I'm being like very specific when I say this, there are some things that when you look at them deeply enough and you take the time to read, are not even what they appear to be. Like, the news makes money off of watch time and ads and everything that a YouTuber makes money off of. So you can't forget that when these are the people telling you the story, that they want to keep you for as long as they can keep you. And if they kept you by only telling you good things, they'd only tell you good things.
Right.
And
Facts.
so that you have to take a little bit of both what's being said and who is delivering it with a grain of salt. Not to say that things are not happening in the world, but I just don't think that you can that you can spend too much time digesting the news the way that it's given to you. You either have to decide like, okay, I'm going to do something about what is happening because I'm moved by it, or I'm going to accept that it's happening and try to make sure it's not happening here. Like there are things that you can do. I think it would be crazy to clockwork orange somebody and just make them watch CNN for 18 hours. That would be a very depressing sort of state of affairs, because CNN is not harping on the good stories all the time, you know. And they're also not putting you at ease. Because then to put you at ease would make you turn the TV off.
Right.
So to say, hey, this person said this thing and this person said this thing, but this person's lying, so it's really not that big of a deal. The news could do that. That is what journalism is supposed to do. It's supposed to get to the bottom of whatever is happening. But what we've done is we've sort of shifted that thing into, Real Housewives of World Economies. So it's just people getting on CNN arguing, and then you walk away with like, I can't believe they said that. I can't believe they said that. But what were they even talking about? And how did we not get to some sort of resolution by the end? We talked about this for an hour. Everyone was yelling for an hour. How did we not? I'm not saying we should fix it. I'm just saying, how did we not land somewhere? Yeah. And it's because it's about being on the hamster wheel. It's not about finding anything out.
Totally.
So when I think about Daily Show, or when I think about any of these ways of digesting the news, the reason that they don't depress me is that I don't see them as like, I think that when you get news from someone or some place and you feel like their word is final, that gives you your exact direction on how to feel. And I think that when you take in that everyone talking about this is just somebody talking about what's happening, you have a lot more freedom to feel however you want to feel. So that's why I am not depressed by the news.
I love that. I just have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
So you talk about your family, and I love it. It's so good. But do you ever like have your family come up to you and be like, damn, you said that? Or are they usually,
no.
Do you go to them, or you just say it from your experience?
No, I think that everything that I could tell that would be bad, I don't tell. And I think we all know that.
We being the family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know. Anything I wanted to say that would be like crazy, it's like I'm obviously not going to tell that story. Yeah, as a family member, as someone who loves the cooking and wants to keep coming. So yeah, no, I haven't had that issue. I haven't had anybody be like, "What? Why'd you? Oh my gosh, I can't believe you."
Or your mom being like, I know you talk about like growing up with like, off-brand cereal, growing up poor and stuff. Has there ever been like I don't know, I've just told stuff and people, my family have come to me and be like, damn, like I'm sorry, or like I see it this way, or
oh, that's different. Yeah, I mean, my cousin has definitely been like, wait, you really almost got robbed? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry that happened. I was like, well, it's not like you were there and you left. That's fine. It happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not a big deal. No, we've never had any real issues over it. But yeah, I have had them be like, oh, I'm sorry that happened, or, whatever. And it's like, all right, but
you're like,
it's
I'm
fine.
Good. Yeah. And then the other thing is like, you watching your special, you deliver, like you would go into like talking about your dad. You were telling the story, and I was listening to it with my boyfriend, and we're watching it and we're like, oh, he's about to like do a switch. We're waiting for the like, cause I really enjoyed it because you were really just telling it, like there obviously did come a punchline later, but it was longer than usual. Like you were really just telling the story. What was the process of getting there? Like, do you enjoy that moment of where you can tell the audience is like, you're laughing, and then it's like, whoa, we're in a serious moment, and you're going to get them, but before you had the punch, like what was that process like?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I'm being honest, I only did it. I think that was like when I do it in the special, that's like my second time telling it.
Okay.
So I didn't know how they would feel. I told it once to make sure it all made sense. And then, I just like told it at the special. So that's like my second time saying it when you saw it. So I don't know if I was expecting them to do anything. I was just sort of like, this is the part that I have to get out. So like, I know I have jokes on the end of it. And I know I have more consistent jokes after it. But in order for the whole thing to feel like a piece of something, this is a thing that this is a part of the story that I just have to tell. And then it'll be funny later. And you want the payoff to be enough. I think that we are getting into like a dangerous territory of like, everyone's expression is their own, but I think we're getting into like a dangerous territory of people like forgetting that they're supposed to be funny while they're doing their special. And so then it's like at a certain point you're like, all right, I'm glad you went through the other side, but like where are the jokes sort of thing? And I wanted to avoid that as best as possible and was hoping that I was avoiding it. But that was just one section where I was like, in order for the buildup of everything to feel like a piece of something, I have to just like do this part as is.
Got you.
Which is like what? Like, I don't know how long it is, but it's a while to go without laughing.
Right.
But it's also why it's like more towards the middle end is because it's like, hopefully I've had you laughing this entire time so that I get this couple minutes back of like, let me do a thing real quick. And then if the payoff is good enough, then we all win, hopefully.
Yeah, I definitely.
Or else I fall into the category that I was just talking about.
Which is fine too, but I don't think that's the case. It was enjoyable. It felt like it like brought me into the room. It's like a good switch up. It was really nice. So you weren't like aware of you were just telling it. Were you aware of the audience being like, oh shit, we're in a like deep moment right now?
I think a little bit, because you're looking at them and everything. So then, some people are looking at you like, oh God, okay. Oof. All right.
Oh no.
When's the callback?
Yeah.
Goodness. And so yeah. But then, it all worked out. So I was very thankful for that.
It's such a great special. And
thanks.
Yeah, and I really liked. I mean, this is spoiler alert, but I've already started, so I'm just gonna say it.
Oh, okay.
But.
It's also been out for quite a while, so it'd be weird if I got upset. It's been like over a year. And it's like, no, don't
you just
tell
start
him.
Crying.
Oh my God, why would you? Why would you?
Oh no, you're right. I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
At the end, you are talking to the therapist. Oh, it like touches my heart because I feel it. But you're like talking to the therapist, and you're like, without this space to be honest and like real, can't remember the exact words, but I would have.
It'd be so funny if I was like, I would never say real. No, but yeah, keep going.
Get the fuck out of here. But like, I would have killed myself. But you're like talking to the therapist, but also I think, talking about comedy.
Yeah.
That's just so beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
And then you say thank you, but it's to the therapist and you look at the camera there's no cap on the camera. You're speaking directly to the people.
Wouldn't that be funny if there was a cap? Just goes to black. Thank you. Did he do it?
Just looking at the camera.
Did he? I don't see him anymore. He just said he would. Get it? Oh man. Is he still with us? Yeah.
It was really heartfelt and I just felt like it was really cool to watch.
No, I'm glad. I'm very glad that you enjoyed it. It sounds like it was, received exactly as I intended by you. If only there were 3 more million of you, then wow, I would have had a real banger on my hands.
Well, it's wonderful. And I'm, there's so much more that I want to ask you about, especially about the feeling like comedy saved your life. But I feel like we're running out of time. But
Okay.
if you,
I have no idea where I'm supposed to be. So,
well, can you talk a little bit about how comedy saved your life?
yeah. I mean, I just was not functional as much as like I would have liked to have been as a kid and a young adult. And I think that both doing comedy and focusing my mind towards comedy gave me like the friends and the experiences and the sort of life and lifestyle that I had always been, it felt like leading up to the point where I very much enjoy life and am very thankful for everything and everyone around me and everything. And I think that I was still like a pretty content person before I was doing comedy as a job or even comedy regularly. Like when I moved to Chicago, I had a terrible job and I still feel like I was happy there. Able to like be content with the fact that it's like, okay, I'm out on my own, I'm paying my rent, and like I have food that I can eat, like I'm chilling, you know what I mean? And like I hadn't been to nice restaurants yet, so I didn't even know what I was missing. So then if I had like a good sandwich, I was like, damn, we really out here. It doesn't get better than this. And then I remember the first nice restaurant I ate at, I was like, oh, we should kill the rich. This is, they've been holding up. They've
Now
been
I'm gonna cry.
stockpiling all the good stuff. Oh, geez. But yeah, I think that is how, I think that doing comedy and pursuing comedy has shaped a life. And is like, you know, I've been very like blessed and just like there's just a lot of like God-given blessings that I cannot begin to like show enough thankfulness for, because I think that for the most part everyone is, most of my friends, a lot of people that I feel like I roll with are funny. Like it's like, why should it work out for anybody? So the fact that it's even working for me in the slightest is like, feels like it's cutting off like a little piece of heaven right there, where it's just, that's amazing. That's like, because I feel like I've been funny for a while, and to a certain degree, it's hard to even tell what changed or why people liked this set or why people shared this thing with their friend or whatever. You just do comedy and you put it out, and you hope that you bring some people joy and that they feel like hyping it up. And that's, you know, thankfully that's what's happened. So I can't complain at all. Yeah.
I love that. When did you start stand up?
2012. Yeah. So like towards the end of 2012, I guess. So it's been what, like 11 and a half years, something like that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. It's all right. It's one of those things that it's one of those things where it's like I look back and I'm like, not that I would trade anything, but just imagine if you put 11 and a half years towards engineering. You'd have a functional skill. Like,
you're doing great.
No, I'm just saying, like, desert island, the yucks aren't going to get you far.
Yeah.
No one's going to be sitting around the fire and be like, what'd you do today? It's like, you know, trees are crazy. That's not,
I feel like
helping.
Comedy can easily translate, like switch over into magic. And so maybe that'll save you. You could be like,
if there is a magician on the flight that also survives, I will have to kill him myself. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for being here and for sharing your perspective. I feel like I learned a lot, and just I really enjoyed your
from me.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We're the only two talking.
I know, but maybe I don't know. Maybe you're getting some notifications on your phone while I was going. Yeah.
Yes, from you. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me. This has been fun. I hope you had a good time.
I did.
I'm still trying to figure out how to be a podcast guest. You know what I mean? Like when to look at the camera.
You know what? If Melanie was here, we would dive deep into that wanting to be something.
Okay.
But Lucky for you, she's sick, so we're gonna leave that.
Yeah, okay. We'll give it time. Yeah, let it marinate.
Can you tell everybody like your socials and if you want them to watch your special?
Oh yes. Okay. Get ready. Do you have a pen and paper, or are you already on your phone or laptop because you can do the keyboard? It's Josh Johnson Comedy on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Josh J Comedy on Facebook. I also have a podcast myself called The Josh Johnson Show, where I tell stories about being on the road and just doing comedy in general. But I'm posting new clips every week to YouTube and all the other places. So check them out there. I appreciate everyone that watches on YouTube because that's where I put like the bulk of my work and everything. The special is on Peacock. It's called Up Here Killing Myself. And I think that to say anything else would be kind of like self-indulgent. Like at a certain point after like the fourth handle, it's like, we get it. You're online.
Say it.
You know what I mean? No, that really was it.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to give myself kudos for not being more active. I was really trying to, you really blew up my spot there of like, no, what else do you do? It's like, no, I don't do anything else. But I was trying to slide into home as really one of the people. And nah, it's fine. Maybe you'll cut it. Maybe you won't.
Definitely won't.
Leave it. Yeah, leave it up. We're doing great. I'm really out here. It's only Josh J Comedy on Facebook because Josh Johnson Comedy was somehow taken, but I don't know by
What's
who.
he doing? Oh, okay.
Yeah. When you go to it, it's nothing. So,
but you can't have it.
Yeah, but you can't have it. So someone took it to spite me, maybe, which is weird because I was doing very little at the time in my career. So that's
you saw
someone
something
that,
in you, though.
Yeah, imagine having like a day one. That's what I need to write about, having a day one hater. You know what I mean? Like, those early haters who
Something
were like,
about him.
Yeah, I was hating on him when he was nobody. I mean, he's still nobody, but like now he got some fans or whatever. But he'll always be nobody to me. Not on Facebook. They gotta type in a weird capital J in between Josh and comedy to even get there, or hope a friend shares it and then you can discover the page. But there's like 5 fake pages. So that's the only real one. That's why YouTube is easier. Even though I very much appreciate the people who watch on Facebook because they do come to shows and they, I try to do a meet and greet after every show if I can. The only times I don't do them is if like the venue is like, hey, we can't do the turnover if you do it. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
That does make it tough.
Well, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. I hope that this was recording.
Dude. Me too.
Yeah. Imagine we take these off and she's like,
oh, shit. Thank you for listening to I'm Fine, It's Fine podcast. My name is Amber Autry. I'm a comedian based here in Nashville and internationally touring. You can find me on all platforms at Amber Autry Comedy.
And I am Melanie Reese. I'm a trauma therapist here in Nashville. You can find me across all platforms at Trauma Therapy Nashville.
We really appreciate you listening so much. And if you want to give a little extra for free, make sure you're liking, subscribing, rating, reviewing, sharing with your friends, talking about it to literally everyone you see, because it helps so much. And we're so grateful for the extra effort.
And if you like what you're hearing and you want some bonus material, that includes interviews with other practitioners and all the juicy stuff that Amber and I talk about that doesn't go into the normal podcast. We'd love to have you subscribe. You can find the link in our bio, and $5 a month, you can do it.
Thank you.
Thanks.